Thank you, Dr. Nashin.
Thank you, Dr.
Assalamu alaikum,
Saima.
girls. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me all?
Yes, Doctor, we can hear.
Okay. Okay, so let's start the second part of the session. And you must be remembering what we did in the lung cancer. So it will be just a recap and a revision of cancer of the lung. So according to the latest WHO classification, we take different types of samples and different types of. Is it okay now? My voice? Okay. So we take different types of samples, and among which you can take cytology samples. In the cytology, you can take a sample either through sputum or bronchoalveolar lavage or bronchial brushings. Pleural effusion can be taken or fine needle aspiration cytology. Whatever the sample is, you will smear on a slide and you can stain it with PAP stain, Giemsa stain, or hematoxylin and eosin stain. And what you will get the cells. So you will basically examine the cells. Cytology is the study of the cells. It will give you the cellular details, but not the entire tissue architecture. So this was a sample. Uh, uh, yes, Rosanna.
Doctor, I'm sorry to disturb you, but do you have the slides? Could you send them to us?
It is uploaded in the Blackboard.
Okay, okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so not only you can study the cells, but also you can do immunohistochemistry on it. So this is a sample of cytology on which these two stains were done, cytokeratin 7 and TTF1. So tell me, what is the diagnosis? Now you have the background of adenocarcinoma, exactly. So you have TTF1, which is nuclear positivity, and you can see membrane positivity of cytokeratin 7. So the diagnosis is adenocarcinoma, correct. Then you can take small biopsy samples through bronchoscopy. As you can see, these biopsies are around like 1 millimeters, 2 millimeters in size, and then you can see the tissue architecture in this. So, what do you think? What is the diagnosis based on this biopsy? Small cell carcinoma, exactly. You see small cells with scanty cytoplasm, hyperchromatic nuclei, round to spindle, and these are elongated here because of slight squeezing of the biopsy with the forceps. So you be gentle when you are taking biopsies. So you can also take core needle biopsies, which are slightly larger, and this includes the entire tissue core. And here you can better appreciate the tissue architecture. In this slide, the diagnosis is not very clear whether it's an adenocarcinoma or a large cell. So most likely you should go for the immunohistochemical staining on this one to classify the tumor. Then you can, through open thoracotomy, you can take wedge biopsies, and in wedge biopsies, you can clearly see the tissue architecture. So can anybody tell me what is the diagnosis in this? It's very, very clear. Adenocarcinoma, exactly. You can see back-to-back arranged glands lined by atypical epithelium. Okay. So, according to WHO classification, now you classify the lung cancers into two major categories: non-small cell lung cancer and neuroendocrine tumors. In non-small cell, you have further adenosquamous and large cell. And in neuroendocrine, you have small cell carcinoma and carcinoid. And also you can include large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma. So, what is your diagnosis in this? You have the histology and you have the immunos for TTF1 and P40 negative. It's adenocarcinoma. Remember, P40 is negative, so it's most likely adeno. What about this one? TTF1 negative and P40 is positive? Yes, it is squamous cell. You have keratin pearls, atypical squamous cells, and P40 positivity, or P40 is the same as P63, so it indicates squamous cell carcinoma. What about this tumor? You have the biopsy and you have the staining for TTF1, but P40 is negative and synaptophysin is positive, CD56 is positive, Ki67 index is very high at 90%. Yes, it is small cell carcinoma because you have small cells on histology, and TTF1 can be positive in small cell, but negative for P40 excludes squamous, and the neuroendocrine markers, these two are positive with a high Ki67 index. What would be the Ki67 index if it was carcinoid tumor? Because carcinoid will also have neuroendocrine markers. It would be low. It will not have that high multiplication. Ki67 is indicating proliferative activity or high mitotic count. Okay. In gross examination, what is the most likely diagnosis in this lung? You have a tumor which is peripherally located, adenocarcinoma. Exactly. What about this one? Seems to be a central tumor. What will be your differential? Yes, either squamous or small cell, because both of them are central. Remember, sa, smoking, central, squamous, or small cell. Okay, good. So this is the terminology used for small biopsies. If you have clearly defined adenocarcinoma with any of the patterns like lepidic, acinar, papillary, micropapillary, etc., you will classify it adenocarcinoma. But what if it is poorly differentiated? You will do immuno for TTF1, which will be positive, and P40 will be negative. So you would classify non-small cell lung cancer favoring adenocarcinoma. If it is a classic squamous cell carcinoma with keratin pearls, intercellular bridges, atypical squamous cell, you will write it down as squamous cell carcinoma. But if it is a poorly differentiated one, you will go for immuno. And again, immuno will be positive for P40 and P63, but negative for TTF1. So you will write non-small cell lung cancer favoring squamous cell carcinoma. And what will the criteria of large cell? It is a poorly differentiated or a de-differentiated tumor. So it doesn't have adeno feature, it doesn't have keratin pearls. In immunohistochemistry, it is not showing any positivity. So you will classify a non-small cell lung cancer not otherwise specified. It means that it doesn't belong to any specific class. Okay, let's diagnose these cases on the basis of cocktails. So, first tell me, it's a biopsy or a cytology sample? You can write B or C. Cytology, exactly. When you are looking at cells, you're not looking at the tissue architecture, you will go for cytology. Okay, so these are cytology samples, and the diagnosis is not really clear on the cytology. You have employed a double color multiplex cocktail of immunos, and you are using P40 and cytokeratin 5. Tell me, what is the diagnosis in this first case, the first line? Yes, it is squamous cell carcinoma because you have P40 positivity in the nucleus, the brown thing, and the reddish granules in the cytoplasm for cytokeratin 5. So the purpose of this cocktail is to save time and money. It's more economical, and you can use this immuno cocktail in a short time, and you can get the quick diagnosis. Then you have another case in which you have employed TTF1 and napsin A. What is the diagnosis in this line? Adenocarcinoma, exactly. Why TTF1 and napsin A? They are markers for adeno. TTF1 will give brown nuclear positivity, as you can see, and these reddish granules are of napsin A. Napsin A is a recent marker, and it is more sensitive. It is expressed in type 2 this pneumocystis, so it is a more sensitive marker. It gives this reddish granules in the cytoplasm. So your diagnosis is adeno here and squamous in the first top slide. Okay, almost the same cases again. Again, you have a sample. It is positive for P40, TTF1 is negative, and you know this is the cocktail. What is the diagnosis in this line? Squamous cell carcinoma. What about this one? This is TTF1 nepsin A, and this stain is P40 cytokeratin 5. What is the diagnosis? Adeno. Because here P40 and cytokeratin 5 are not expressed, that is why you don't see any brown thing here, but they are expressed over here. The TTF1 and nepsin are expressed here, so the diagnosis is adenocarcinoma. Good. And for small cell, you know that you have TTF1 positive, neuroendocrine markers are positive, and Ki67 is high. Adenocarcinoma is also positive for cytokeratin 7, which is negative in squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, you can employ molecular testing as we discussed in the session, that you can use EGFR sequencing. You can utilize immunohistochemical staining or fish staining for ALK or ROS1 and PDL1. And for each of these molecular markers, there is a targeted therapy. And due to this personalized therapy, the prognosis of lung cancer, or rather adenocarcinoma, has changed dramatically. Okay. Now, what do you think? Which tumor is this? 60 years male smoker. Yeah, a central lesion with a cavitation. So most likely it is squamous cell carcinoma, but yeah, it can be small. So the ultimate diagnosis is on biopsy. When you look at the histology slide, you will make the final diagnosis. But the cavitation will be more in favor of squamous cell carcinoma. But here you can have both the differential squamous and small cell. Final diagnosis is on biopsy. So what is your final diagnosis now? You have that central lesion with central cavitation and these features. Diagnosis is squamous cell. Yes. What are the features of squamous cell? You have these keratin pearls, exactly, and atypical squamous cell, which can show these intercellular bridges, as you can appreciate. These are atypical squamous cells and keratin pearls. Yes, cavitation on the gross. So the squamous cell carcinoma arise on a spectrum of changes of hyperplasia, then metaplasia, and then dysplasia. You know, this is the normal pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium of the respiratory tract. On exposure to smoking, cigarette smoke, there is first reserve cell hyperplasia. You can see increase in the number of layers, and then there is squamous metaplasia. You can see the flat epithelium on the top, and there is some dysplasia, mild dysplasia in the lower one third. Then the dysplasia keeps on increasing. Here it is around 2/3 of epithelium, so classify for moderate, until it goes on for severe dysplasia or carcinoma in situ, which involves the entire layers. And then the cancer will become invasive when it infiltrates the underlying stroma by breaking the basement membrane. So there is a whole sequence of changes, and it's a spectrum which takes years to develop. What is this feature? Squamous keratin pearls. Yes, this is keratin pearls. So it is well differentiated squamous cell carcinoma. When you see less keratin pearls, but still you can see few and individual cell keratinization as this pinkish thing in the cytoplasm, you will go for moderately differentiated. And when you don't see any keratin pearls, then it is a poorly differentiated tumor which needs immunohistochemical staining for its qualification, that what exactly the tumor is. Which tumor is the most likely on the gross examination? Adeno. Exactly. Why? Because it's a peripheral lesion. It is causing scar, which is causing the indrawing or puckering of the pleura inside the scar. Poorly differentiated does have the worst prognosis out of the three categories. Exactly, Jory. You are right. Poorly differentiated squamous cell, all the poorly differentiated tumors usually have the bad prognosis. So adenocarcinoma is can be associated with scar. We don't know whether the scar comes first or the adeno. Generalized statement should be it is associated with scar. Again, a peripheral tumor with some central scarring. What is your diagnosis in this one? So it is written adeno, not adenocarcinoma, okay, mucinous, and in situ. No, you're right. Adenocarcinoma in situ. And what is the growth pattern we call? Anybody remembers? Lepidic, exactly. Lepidic is spreading along the alveolar septa. And why in situ? Because there is no invasion into underlying stroma. And when the tumor is around less than 3 centimeter, no invasion into underlying stroma, we call it adenocarcinoma in situ. Okay. Slide 13 is adeno, Noora. So this is in carcinoma in situ and mucinous type. As you can see, this mucin inside the cytoplasm. It becomes minimally invasive if you have invasion of less than 5 millimeters. Okay. So lepidic growth pattern. Okay. So what is the diagnosis here? First, let's take this one. Is it mucinous or non-mucinous? Non-mucinous. Okay, it's no mucin. So it is again, you can write lepidic spread adenocarcinoma or adenocarcinoma in situ, non-mucinous. And what about this one? Is it M or N? Mucin or non-mucin? Mucinous. You can clearly see mucin, this light purple or light pinkish in the pale appearance, the clear appearance inside the cytoplasm. So this is mucin. How can we now know it is non-invasive? Okay, it depends on the size. If you have an image like this, and in the description, if it is written in the stem that the tumor is invading the stroma around of 3 millimeters, then you will write that it is minimally invasive adenocarcinoma. But if you have an image like this, then you can write that it is adenocarcinoma in situ. Okay. But if there is, obviously you cannot measure in one specific image. So if there is some specifier in the stem, then go for the specific thing, that it's minimally invasive of, or if it is written that this tumor had an invasion of say 8 millimeter, then you will go for invasive adenocarcinoma, not even minimally invasive, if there is a specifier. If there is no, with this biopsy you can go for adenocarcinoma in situ. As you can see, the spread along the alveolar septa only. Okay, what is the type of adeno here? What do you see? What are these? Acinar, yes. You see these are acini or glands, and you have some desmoplasia and inflammation in the stroma also. So it means that it has already invaded the stroma. What about this one? What do you see here? What are these? Finger-like projections or papilla. So it's papillary adenocarcinoma, exactly. And here it is micropapillary. You see small fingers. They are cut in cross section. That's why they appear to be rounded. So this is micropapillary. And here you don't see any pattern. No acini, no lepidic spread, no papilla or micropapilla, rather a solid growth pattern. So this is the tumor where you will go for immunohistochemistry. Just a quick recap of the molecular alteration. You can have EGFR alteration, which is seen in usually 10 to 20% of cases with young females who are non-smoker, Asian descent. Histologically, they are well differentiated tumor, and uh, prognostically, you can give personalized therapy to EGFR tyrosine kinase inhibitor, gefitinib or erlotinib can be given in this case, which improve the survival and prognosis is better. KRAS is 15 to 30% of adeno and 5% of squamous, usually in old patients who are smokers with mucinous differentiation, and it is a negative predictor marker. If it is present, it means that there can be a failure of therapy to EGFR. And then EML4 ALK fusion protein are seen in young male non-smokers with a poorly differentiated pattern of tumor, and they can respond to therapy against ALK, response to ALK gene inhibitor, which is crizotinib. So these are the molecular alterations. They are very important because now for every tumor they are being done so that personalized therapy can be given to those patients. Okay, the diagnosis is written, but still, what is the diagnosis? Small cell carcinoma, yes, absolutely right. You see small cells, um, they have hyperchromatic nuclei, scanty cytoplasm, high NC ratio. What is this feature? At my pointer tip, nuclear molding, yes, where the nuclei are hugging with each other and they are going to come, one nucleus is going to compress and form the other nucleus. This is nuclear molding, and they are marching in a line. So Indian file pattern. And what is this feature? This thread, this line, artifact, crushing artifact we call it. And can anybody tell me what my pointer is showing here? This, this, this one, mitosis. They are all abnormal atypical mitosis, and you can see that this tumor is so mitotically active. So cells can be round like this or can be spindle shaped or fusiform like this. So the diagnosis is small cell carcinoma. Again, a central, you can usually central lesion and strongly associated with smoking. Okay, you might not have seen this image in the lecture maybe, but I have just incorporated just to show you how the large cell carcinoma appears. Crushing artifact, this one. These threads. Why this crushing artifact is formed? Because these cells are very, very fragile. And you know, there is hardly any cytoplasm, and the nuclei tend to crush when you make slides and when you are preparing the cutting the tissues. So this crushing artifact can happen. This is, by the way, a cytology sample, as you are looking only the cells, not any tissue architecture, and you can see red cells in the background. This is a cytology sample. Large cell don't show any differentiation. We know that it doesn't show any glands. No, if you are talking about large cell, is similar to small cell cancer. Yes, okay. Then I have to go back to the previous slide. Look at this slide. Keep the cells in your mind. Just look that you only see the nucleus. Hardly any cytoplasm can be seen in any of the images. Now go back to this image. This is one cell. You have the nucleus. You have abundant pale cytoplasm. You have this big nucleus and abundant cytoplasm. You can see monsters, very, very big nuclei. So the pleomorphism is very, very marked in this one. What is pleomorphism? Variation in shape and size. can imagine, just compare the size of this nucleus and this nuclear. They are very, very different. And there is abundant cytoplasm. So this is a biopsy sample. Rosanna, it's a biopsy sample. So it doesn't show any glands. Does it show any keratin pearl? No. Does it show small cells? Does it show any nuclear molding? No. So the things are very, very different. So that's why you put it into the category of large cell carcinoma. Large cell is nothing, it's a poorly differentiated tumor. And when you will do immuno, you will not find any positive marker in this case. So it's a large cell. Just as a summary, what is the diagnosis in this one? What do you think? I have brought some different pictures just for your practice. Adenocarcinoma, you see glands. Okay. What about this one? Squamous cell carcinoma. Exactly. Squamous cell, not collagen, keratin. Sumaya, it's keratin pearls. Okay, what about this one? Okay. It is small cell lung cancer. It is small cell carcinoma. What about this one? What do you think? You don't have glands, you don't have keratin, you don't have small cells, rather you have big cells, abundant cytoplasm, a lot of pleomorphism. So it goes for, yes, huge cells. So it will be large cell carcinoma. It was just for practice. This purple thing, Anoop? Okay. I have not told you, this is known as Azopardes phenomena. Actually, there is some basophil staining of the blood vessel, which is also classic of small cell carcinoma. I have not told you this feature, but since you have pointed out and I'm telling you, it is the basophilic staining of the vessel wall. It is seen in small cell carcinoma. Okay. So in carcinoid, you have smaller cells, they are uniform, they have salt and pepper or granular chromatin, and if you do neuroendocrine markers like synaptophysin and CD56, they will be positive. And what about Ki67 index? It will be high or low? Low. So you can compare here. Which tumor is this? This is a key staining for Ki67. Carcinoid or small cell? This one. Small cell, because it's a very high Ki67 index, and this one has a very low, you can see only few brown dots here and there. So it is carcinoid. Okay, I have got a slide for matching. You have immuno A, B, C, D on this, you can say left side, and on the right side you have features. So you have to match each tumor with the immuno. Let's take it one by one. So, tumor number 1, scanty cytoplasm, nuclear molding, apoptosis, and crushing artifact. D. Okay. Yes, you're right. So, the features are going with small cell carcinoma. Absolutely right, Haifa. And you have TTF1 positivity, neuroendocrine markers are positive, and it has got a high Ki67 index. Excellent. Next case. It's a gland forming tumor with vacuolated cytoplasm. You can see mucinous cytoplasm. And okay, B. Very good. Excellent. So you have cytokeratin 7 positivity, TTF1 and Nepsin A are positive, and Jude and Sumaya, you're absolutely right. It is adenocarcinoma. Number 3, pleomorphic cells, bizarre intercellular bridges, keratin pearls. A. Okay, I would go for A. Okay, very good. You have cytokeratin P5 or 6 is positive, P63 or P40, same thing is positive, and TTF1 is negative. Very important thing. Diagnosis is squamous cell. Very good. Last case. Small uniform cells, no pleomorphism, granular chromatin, C, carcinoid. Very good, Hanuf. So you have TTF1 positive, neuroendocrine markers are positive, but a low Ki67 index. So it means that the diagnosis is carcinoid. So it was just a slide, just for a recap and practice. And I'm glad that you people know it very well. Good. So the cancer is clear. Very good. Now let's go back to the past, to the initial weeks, where we learned something about emphysema. And in emphysema, we learned that it affects the sinus, and the normal sinus extends from respiratory bronchiole to the alveolar ducts to the alveolar sacs. So, which type of emphysema do you think this patient has? Centri, yes, because it is affecting the proximal or central part of the sinus, involving the respiratory bronchiole and the alveolar ducts. And what about this one? PAN. PAN doesn't involve the entire lung, but it involves the sinus, respiratory bronchiole till the alveolar sacs, and Sentry is associated with what is the risk factor? Yes, no for entire sinus. What is the risk factor for Sentry? Smoking. What is the risk factor for PAN? Alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency. Very good. So, what type of emphysema is this? You have dilatation of air spaces, and some of the lung in between is normal, so it will go with Sentry. And what about this one? It's yeah, it's PAN. Even if you write emphysema, as I told you in the session, it will be considered correct. So here you see dilatation of the air spaces with some are normal, and it is the upper part of the lung being affected, so most likely it is Sentry. Yes. So these are the normal alveoli, their wall are destroyed, and you can see that they are joined together to form larger air spaces. What about this one? It's very clear. Sentry, yes, and this one? PAN. Very good. Okay, this one seems to be distal because it is present adjacent to this thickened fibrotic pleura. Distal, if you remember, it involves the distal part of the lung, usually adjacent to the pleura or adjacent to the interlobular connective tissue septa. So it is most likely a distal type of emphysema. Okay, here again emphysema, where you see a zoomed up view of distended air spaces with some lung parenchyma in between is normal. This is Sentry most likely. What is being formed here? What is this structure? This structure? Bulla, exactly. This is emphysema with bullous formation. And what is the risk with these bullas? Look at their walls. Yes, pneumothorax. The wall is very, very thin, so they can rupture and lead to pneumothorax. Yes, spontaneous. Again, a zoomed in view of bulla, you can appreciate that they are so much big. They can be 0.5 millimeters to 2 centimeters, 0.5 to 2 centimeters, and the wall is very thin. So microscopically, you see destruction of the wall of alveoli. You don't see walls here, and dilatation of spaces. There is loss of capillaries also. So same thing, destruction of wall and dilatation of air spaces. Is there any fibrosis? No fibrosis in emphysema, this by which you distinguish it with from interstitial or restrictive lung disease. Again, dilatation of air space, destruction of the wall, but no fibrosis can be seen. Who is he? pink puffer. Yes, you can see he's sitting in a hunched over position. He has caused purse slip, breathing through purse slip. Accessory muscles of respiration are in use. He is thin, cachectic, because there is increased work of breathing, and there is cachexia also, and he appears to be pink because they maintain oxygen level till the quiet end. So yes, absolutely right, your diagnosis is emphysema. What type of emphysema is this? Bullous emphysema. Good. This one, again the same thing, bullous, the same. Again the same thing, you can see this dilated, distended bulla with a very thin wall. Okay, so what is the classic microscopic feature of chronic bronchitis? Yes, increase in the submucous glands or increase in the reed index. Remember reed index, the thickness, the ratio of thickness of the wall to the thickness of submucosal gland, it is increased. Exactly. This is the normal, and you can compare the normal with this abnormal one. And on the surface, with time, there is loss of goblet cells and there is squamous metaplasia. And we have seen just in the lung cancer session that it can progress to dysplasia and carcinoma. It is irreversible. It's usually irreversible. So this is again chronic bronchitis where you see inflammation in the wall. Very, very clear inflammation. Even a lymphoid follicle is formed here. And smooth muscles can also be thickened. And there is slight mucus here inside the lumen, but there can be increased mucus inside the lumen. Smooth muscle thickening, inflammation, and there can be mucus inside the lumen. Okay, so just a comparison between chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Look at this guy. He's a blue bloater. He's smoking all the time. And why there is elevated hemoglobin in this guy? Because of hypoxia. Yes, hypoxia is the cause which can lead to polycythemia, and it can induce erythropoietin and result in polycythemia. Okay, as a compensation, exactly. And somehow they are overweight, they are cyanotic. Why cyanotic? Because of, yes, hypoxemia, and there is, yes, mucus prevent the exchange of good exchange of gases, and there is hypercapnia also. There is increase in the CO2 and relative hypoxemia also. So there is increase in the hemoglobin. Why there is peripheral edema? Heart failure, yes, right heart failure, cor pulmonale, because of hypoxemia there is pulmonary hypertension. Exactly, no, this pulmonary hypertension will lead to back pressure on the right heart, and there will be raised TVP, peripheral edema, and there can be hepatomegaly as well. In emphysema, we have already seen the features. Both of them can have barrel-shaped chest. Look at this guy, purse slip, using accessory muscles, cachectic, and X-ray will show hyperinflation of the lungs. Okay, and here in X-ray might show cardiomegaly because of the element of heart failure. Okay, yes, again pink puffer, and you can compare him with the blue bloater. Who appears to be cyanotic, bit obese or overweight, you can say, and there can be increase in the hemoglobin. There can be peripheral edema in this patient also. I think, yeah, this is the last slide. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Just a minute. Slide number 27. Okay, wait. Wait, I will go. Just wait. 27. Yes. What about this 27 slide? Uh, you want me to tell you how would you uh, pinpoint whether it is Sentry or PAN, Hanuf?
Yes, doctor, same question.
Okay. So here, can you appreciate these are dilated air spaces? These are dilated air spaces. These are and these are. You agree with me? In between,
Yes.
can you appreciate some of the lung parenchyma is normal? This is normal, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal. So when you are appreciating some lung parenchyma in between are normal, you will go for Sentry. Here, you don't see any normal parenchyma, rather all of the air spaces seems to be distended and enlarged. So you will go for PAN. But for you people, even if you write emphysema in the exam, it would be considered correct. Unless and until if you are required or asked to specify which type of emphysema is there. Even if you write emphysema, it would be considered correct. But the key is that you see some dilated air spaces and some of them are normal. Is it clear, Hanuf?
Yes, doctor, thank you.
Okay. Now, please come in time for the exam. Please look at your groups before leaving the home so that you know in which lecture hall you are placed in, so that you go directly to that lecture hall, because we have seen sometimes the girls, you have exam in lecture hall 1 and you are looking for your place in lecture hall 6. So this will waste your time. Please be in time, bring your stationery, and inshallah everything will be good. And I wish you all the best for all of the exams of this block, and inshallah you will secure good marks. Rosanna?
Doctor, could you, thank you, doctor, first of all. Thank you so much. Could you go to the next slide, please?
Sure.
The one
This
that
one?
has the, yes, this one. Yeah, this one's fun, right?
I would not go for the pan here because it's only a part of the lung parenchyma which is affected, and it is just adjacent to the pleura. It seems that it is an
Pleura.
apical part of the lung and it is the thickened pleura. Can you appreciate this thick pleura? So it means that there is some
Yes, yes.
fibrosis in the pleura, and the emphysema happened just next to it. So in this scenario, I would more go with the distal
It's mixed.
emphysema. It distal,
So,
distal
yeah,
type.
so distal type. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but if you write emphysema, it would be considered correct.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, any other questions? Should we bring a calculator? Yeah. Thank you, Majid, for pointing this out. I think you should bring a calculator for all of the 3 exams, written, CRE, and OSPI, because there can be questions. You have done, you have physiology labs also in the OSPI. So there can be any question from the physiology lab in which you have to calculate the lung volumes, similar for CRE and written exam. So all of you, please bring your own calculators, because it's not allowed to take calculator from one student and give to other due to the COVID restriction. Please, all of you bring your calculators. Thank you for pointing this out.